But Lord, in order to show up to this well, I cannot think about the 2-second hook on Instagram. I can't think about how to do stories. I can't think about how to do this and that and the other thing. And I think that's maybe the bait of productivity in this season.
Welcome back. Today on Smart Girl Summer, I'm joined by bestselling author Becky Thompson. She is a woman whose words have reached millions. From Hope Unfolding to God So Close, Becky has a rare gift for meeting women in their mess and pointing them straight to the heart of God. She's not just a writer, she is a movement leader. She's a deep feeler and a truth teller in a noisy world. If you've ever wondered what it really takes to build a lasting writing career with impact, you're in the right place. Okay, let's dive in with my friend Becky. Becky, welcome back to the show. So when people say, what do you do? What do you tell them?
My kids say I don't have a job, but it's because they don't see the work. I sit at my computer all the time and they can't tell when I'm working or balancing the bank. But when a professional asks what I do, I say I'm an author.
Okay, so you tell people you're an author,
Yes.
full-time author. That is what you do. What about the early days of your career? How long did you want to be an author? How long ago did you think, I think I really have a shot at this? What does that look like?
So I stumbled through a golden door. There hasn't just been sunshine and rainbows on the other side of it, but I found a door and then walked through it, and there has been more work than I could ever possibly imagine on this side of it. But in the very beginning, I started a blog 10 years ago when many evangelical Christian women were staying at home with their children and starting blogs about their lives and about their faith. And it was a platform where we could share our stories. And that's exactly what I did. I started to share my story and then put it over on Facebook when Facebook was one of the only places that people were connecting socially like that. And it took off. My account grew. People came from everywhere. Friends from Singapore were like, someone back home just shared your post. And what does that even mean? Because blogs were just sort of brand new. Agents and editors showed up about the same time and asked if I had ever considered writing a book. And since I had decided about 6 months before to start writing a blog, I had not. My answer was no. However, I had a deep love, still have a deep love for the Word of God. I have a deep love for communication and interpersonal communication and organizational communication. And that's where I spent the majority of my time at school. And so this was an outgrowth of all of those hours of work behind the scenes. So I wouldn't say that I'd always dreamt of being an author, but I had dreamt of how is God going to use me and what does that look like professionally?
I love that. So how do you continue to hone your skills? What does that look like to make sure that you're always improving? Probably, my guess is on the writing side and on the marketing side and kind of still expanding your territory, right?
So the hardest thing is in the very beginning, marketing, reaching my audience looked a certain way. It looked like all of my eggs in the Facebook basket. It looked like getting very, very skilled at understanding my audience and how they engaged, not just with my content, but with the platform, their most frequent best practices when they sat down at their computer or picked up the phone and started to scroll. And so I always wanted to know my audience very well and their social media use. That was my understanding of marketing. But as social media has expanded into so many different platforms, it's sort of sink or swim. And, learning these new areas, Instagram hasn't been that big of a challenge, but I'm not on TikTok. I'm not on a lot of these other platforms. And so when I think marketing, I don't think door to door. I think thumb tap to thumb tap. I think, how do I get to where my information is on their screen, because that's where people are spending hours and hours of their lives. So continuing to stay up to date on social media and social media practices, but also the heart issues of where I'm meeting my audience, what they're going through, and how I can continue to serve them and meet felt need. That has changed dramatically in the last 10 years as the culture around us has changed dramatically in the last 10 years. I have a book that's just released. And at one point in the publishing process, I had a call with my marketing team. And I said, I'm done. Like, it's coming out, it's releasing, and, we're there, we're about to cross the finish line. And, we're on a Zoom call and they are sort of blank face blinking back at me like, no, you're not done. Like, we're starting this whole next phase. And I think in the faith space, it's so hard because I'm so protective of the message, and I'm also very protective of my audience. But I have to get really skilled at letting professionals be professionals and then doing what they say to do so that I can move from what worked in the past to what is working now in the space that I don't spend a ton of time in.
Mm. That takes a lot of humility and a lot of insight. So just knowing that you're not going into it going, I don't think you know about my vision or my people, because a lot of people would.
Yeah.
It takes a lot of humility and a lot of wisdom to go, okay, I'm releasing this baby out into the world, and I'm going to trust people who are a lot smarter in this area than I am to tell me how to take care of this baby. So speaking of releasing the baby in the world, let's talk about social media.
Okay.
Everyone building a business wants to know what is working for people, what's not working, what's your strategy right now? What does that look like in the middle of 2025?
I love that question. I think that's so important. What I am doing presently in my social media is taking a reconnaissance season. I am watching this. I feel like this is important though to grow in what we're doing is to watch what other people are doing and succeeding, especially in the space that you're in. Like watching how they're not how they're moving. I'm not talking like putting trackers on, even though there are apps for that. Like you can put apps on what so that came across my feed the other day, and it was a whole product where you can like see what ads other people are running and sort of see what's working. And so there are ways to do that. I am just saying I am being an observer in this season. And for me that's so important because I feel like I was man, a decade ago, I could have told you exactly, like, watch me, watch what I'm doing. I can like follow what I'm doing. I can grow massively. I'm telling you that I know what is not working right now, and it's what used to work. What I'm seeing is social media is highly incentivizing paid promotion. If you pay
Mhm.
for it, they will show it. In the past, I was really nervous about getting into anything paid. Honestly, every bit of growth up until this time surrounding book launch has been entirely organic. We
Wow.
we as a ministry, as our page, we never once paid for views. And that worked in the past. And now that's not the way social media is allowing us to engage with our audience. If we want to reach our people, even our people, they're wanting us to promote that. I think when you ask me like what's working, I wish I could tell you like here's what's jumping off the charts. Here's where I've found a sweet spot. But I am sort of looking at like, okay, this is gone. I know this doesn't work anymore. Knock this off. Like I
Okay,
know
give us an example. What's something where you're like, that's done?
on Instagram, you used to be able to just show up, face to the camera, talk about your life, and people loved you as a person behind it. And now I
Mhm.
feel like if you're not keeping their attention, even in stories, like the quicks, you cannot say good morning, you can't say hi, there can be no millennial pauses of 3 seconds before you talk. You're editing out like everything is quick because the pace of life and our attention spans are shrinking. And so that face to the camera, unless you are being intentional, like planning out what you're going to say, it just doesn't work. People aren't staying engaged, they're not clicking links. But there are people that do this very well. There are people that are already figuring out the algorithm of stories. They're figuring out how to promote engagement, how to get shares in stories. And this was just not something that you had to think about before, but now you do if you want to stay relevant. And so maybe you have a listener and she's going, man, I'm still doing that and I'm in that same place. Like I want to know how to fix it, but it helps me feel like I'm not the only one that's going, I have been doing this, it's not working, so tell me what to do. The thing that I have learned the best to do, which I just don't have time to implement, is that quick hook. Man,
Mm.
the king of quick hook and get them in and then they watch from there is brilliant. And it's why you really need a team right now. Even if you are your own team, you have to set time aside to be that part of your team, if that makes sense. I don't even know if that makes sense, Allie.
Yeah, it makes perfect sense. I mean, we really have to, when we're time blocking, going, okay, I'm going to take this hour on a Friday afternoon at 2, and I'm going to work on my hooks. And I'm going to figure out this video that I want to show people. How do I hook their attention in 2 seconds? Because what I call it the TikTokification of everyone's attention span. We
Perfect.
have to catch people really, really quickly. So, for you, as you're doing recon and you're studying what's working right now, how do you protect yourself from comparison? Because that's the most dangerous part of doing recon, because there's something in our brain that goes, everybody's doing it better than me.
Mhm.
Everything works for everyone else. Might as well give up.
The way I battle it is I follow a wide range of different people in the same space that are good at different things. And I always end, not like in a cheesy way, like, and then I close my phone and I say to myself, your best is gonna. No, but like I always remind myself, that's not my lane, that's not my call, that's not my assignment. So if I'm only watching from what made those likes show up there, what do those people want? Because there are entire Allie, accounts dedicated to content only. And I think those are really powerful and important. Like there's never a face associated with the account. But as an author, especially as a communicator, my heart is that people don't just find encouragement from the words on the page, but they connect with me as a person because I feel like I'm doing it's almost more like discipleship. Like follow me as I follow the Lord. And so I see these accounts and they get shared and there's hundreds of thousands of likes on something that's so simple and you think to yourself, yes, but there's no face behind it. And so that doesn't mean that those accounts aren't businesses making money, doing incredible important work to improve people's mental, emotional, spiritual health. It's just not the lane that I'm in. And so if I watch their practices and I think, is there something from this I can apply to my life? That's how I keep from comparing. Now, if I'm following the other people that are face accounts where you're knowing about their life, you're learning about their story, you're connecting with them as an author. Those are the accounts that I cannot scroll forever because then it feels like, this is where I have the opportunity for comparison to be the thief of my joy. And that's really what I mean when I say I follow a wide range of different types of accounts. You just pay attention to the type of accounts that you're following and if it's growing in you. Because here's the deal, I think it's really unhealthy to grow out of envy for what
Mhm.
somebody else has.
Amen. Mhm.
It's just not, you cannot grow financially in your business in those areas of your life and sacrifice your peace. Yeah, there's times we run harder, there's times we put in the effort, but at the end of the day, I cannot let that bitterness and that envy steal the joy of what I get to do.
I think that's so wise. I actually limit colleagues' accounts that I follow. So if there is a colleague's account, whether it's an author or another coach, that every time I see them, I go, oh, so brilliant. I wish I had thought of that. That's somebody that I just need to put on mute for a little while because I'm triggered by it. And it would be dishonest to pretend like it didn't happen. If I was an interior designer, there's another interior designer that would show up in my feed and make me go, oh, wish I had thought of that. That's my company's never going to look that good on Instagram or whatever it is that we're doing. And it is so smart to protect ourselves from that. Yeah. I think I follow a broad range and I'm always paying attention to what my algorithm is serving me because
Mhm.
I'll know I've clicked too much on a certain topic when I start getting other things delivered to me. And I go, oh, I need to get my algorithm back under control. So for you, how do you schedule out your content? Do you plan themes? Are you organized or is it just kind of spirit led? Like today I'm going to talk about this. I prayed about this last night. Today this is coming out. How do you manage that in general?
So in the very beginning, when the kids were at home and they were just hanging around and the Lord would speak to me and I would have no one to call and tell because I can't start a conversation because the kids are going to just be all in my space and I'm going to be like, I had this really cool revelation from Jesus just now about who he is and how much he loves us. And I just couldn't tell anybody about it. I would start to sort of plan out how I was going to post about it online. And, sort of I started writing it in my head throughout the day because I never had enough time to just sit down and share it right then. So people would say, "How do you have time to write as much as you write?" And I would think, "'Cause I'm really writing even when I'm not writing. I'm sort of making notes and making plans." And I mean, if a mom can juggle all of the things that we do all day, you think I can't write a book in my head? Like, I can write a book in my head. I was really proud of the fact that I didn't schedule and everything was in the moment because I was proud of that because it felt like that was the invitation from the Lord in that season for me. I was listening and I was sharing and I was speaking to the other people that were in the exact same space as me. And the same thing goes with the Midnight Mom devotional community. We never scheduled prayers. Like every night we sit down and we pray, "Who is on your heart, Lord?" And then we pray for the mom that he has put on our heart that night. And it has been that way for 7 years now, 8 years now. I mean, that's every single night. That's what we do unless we know we're going to be out of town or something's going to come up, and then we schedule those so that people don't have that time come. But for the rest of the content in the rest of the space, I have to look ahead now because I'm not in that space where the Lord is speaking about specific things like motherhood all of the time. I'm learning about him and his nature and his character. So that's where I juggle. That's where I spend a lot of my time.
That makes perfect sense. So you mentioned you are not immune to living in this world and having traumatic things happen and going through a lot of personal pain. With that, what is your go-to strategy for staying productive and honoring the work that God's given you to do when maybe you're in a season where you're going through a lot of pain or you secretly kind of want to burn everything down?
I My answer isn't one you want to hear or your audience wants to hear. If something needs to be let go, I have learned to let it go. I think that's just a beautiful principle that we see throughout scripture is we hold on to the things that the Lord asks us to hold on to and deal with, but like we prune the areas that are no longer productive or, serving our ultimate goal. And when I became an author, it was to follow the Lord and the message he had placed within me. But that message is in my life first for my family and then for those outside of my family. The relationship I have with God, the message he has put on my heart, if it's not producing fruit in my home and I'm feeding everybody else, then I need to make some adjustments. I need to change some things. I need to prune some things. So I think, just speaking to your listener who's going, how do I stay productive when I want to burn it all down? Like, I want to say if it needs to burn, let it burn. Like sometimes that's just the honest answer for certain things in life. And it's not like I am self-destructing it. I'm just saying, Lord, I'm giving this over to you. And if this season of this thing, even if it's really good, is over, I'm going to let it be over. If you're saying it needs to be done, if it's no longer serving the ultimate purpose of what you have called me to do.
Yes, but
Uh-huh.
say you're going through something really terrible and you're leading an online course, which is a Bible study that goes year round. How do you stay productive even when things are painful, when you're supposed to keep doing them?
You show up and you do what you have to do. But I think looking at all of the things on the outside of that, right?
Mm.
Like if there's other areas that have to be let go, you refine, you cut back, you decide what has to remain. Like you decide what is a non-negotiable. Like this has to continue. These people have paid for this. I have a message. It needs to, be shared. But Lord, in order to show up to this well, I cannot think about the 2-second hook on Instagram. I can't think about how to do stories. I can't think about how to do this and that and the other thing. And I think that's maybe the bait of productivity in this season for all of us as a culture is there are so many different areas where everybody is a professional. And so you can learn how to be a professional in all of the areas where we kind of have to have our hands a little bit. But
Mhm.
what I'm trying to say, and I thank you for letting me sort of bring it back to this, is in the things we have to do, we do those to the best of our ability, and we have to have grace for the things that we cannot do. And we have to let the Lord help us let them go. And that's what we personally have to do. But at the same time, I think one of the most important things any businesswoman can do is grow the team when she is able and get the group around her that can continue to run when she has to take a step back, that can continue to post, that can continue to engage, that can answer the emails, that can, do the reconnaissance, that can do everything but what she alone can do.
That's so good.
There are so many things that I have one assistant, and I call her my executive assistant by faith because I believe I will eventually have more. And so when I hired her as my executive assistant. It's on every email, like she has a team. It's just her. It's just her and me and my mom running this massive ministry. And my mom runs the massive online ministry of Midnight Moms on Facebook. It's just it's just my assistant and I running the speaking and the courses and all of that together. But
That's so cool. Okay, that's a good word. I agree with that. When there has been terrible pain in our family or difficulties, I tend to not post very much and I pull back from everything that isn't absolutely crucial, which is for me coaching my clients and, running my companies, but I'm definitely not goofing around on Instagram when things are
yeah,
hard. So, I think that's a solid word. You ready for some fun questions?
yeah, I am.
Okay. What interesting thing do you always take with you when you travel?
I always take with me fired Cheetos.
Oh, one of my sons lives by those. He swears they are the best Cheetos ever.
Well, I'm really embarrassed because it's just not the lifestyle I have outside of the plane travel. So it's kind of like a little treat. It's like my little full of red 40 and MSG treat. And then I arrive super swollen and puffy because it's fine. That's what I take. I always have fire Cheetos in my bag.
But hey, everybody needs a treat. I respect it. What about a new skincare or cosmetic?
So I have a teenage daughter, and so I'm
Mhm.
always learning about different things. But So Lancome
Mhm.
has a serum that I invested in, last year, and so I have ditched foundation, and now I just do, like, concealer and because of the serum, so I love the Genifique serum.
Oh, we're gonna have to link to it. When you can ditch foundation, that's a real thing. Your skin does
It's a
look
real thing.
glowing.
Thank you
I
very
love it.
much. Also, I have a lot of freckles, and I have found that when I try to cover them with, like, a foundation, I look like I'm trying to cover them with foundation, so I like
Yeah.
to let them show these days.
I vote yes for freckles. Now, you can't say fiery hot Cheetos for this answer, but I need to know a favorite guilty pleasure.
Oh, guilty pleasure, Mounds bars.
Mounds bars, don't get enough respect.
I love them. I eat them every time I go to the grocery store, and I'm not joking. If I go every time, if I go to the grocery store daily, that $1 Mounds bar goes in and it's gone before I leave the parking lot.
I love that. You can't beat something with chocolate and coconut, and there's almonds in Mounds bars, right?
That's the Almond Joy,
Oh,
but
okay, so
it's a
Mounds
close
is just chocolate
cousin.
and coconut?
Just dark chocolate, which I love, and coconut.
Oh, okay, I can get behind it. And then what about a favorite online tool? It could be an app, it could be a software. What makes life easier?
I'm loving Vimeo right now, so
Hmm,
that's my favorite account. I mean, I recently upgraded, and I'm loving all of their features for broadcasting and live streaming and those things.
yeah, we use Vimeo too for Coach School, and I really love it. That's
I love
awesome. Tell us about your latest book.
my latest book. Oh, Healing Rest. It is an invitation for mamas who carry so much to lean into the arms of the one who holds it all. And that is the subtitle. It is so long, and I had to fight for it, and I love it. Yeah, it's just a book that I've walked out and lived the last year. I went from stress to anxiety, anxiety to burnout, and I always had an underlying anxiety. I've always dealt with anxiety, like an anxiety disorder. But after learning skills for that in 2020, the next step was, how do we de-stress and get back from a place where these women that never dealt with anxiety and suddenly arrived in that place
Mhm.
don't get there? And if they're already there, how do we heal from it? I feel like we all went through a lot in 2020 and never stopped to heal. And
Yep.
that this book is the invitation to stop. Well, it's actually the invitation to find rest before you can stop in your day. And so it makes it very interesting.
It's phenomenal. I have it. I love it. Thank you for letting me see an early copy. And I think you're amazing. Thank you for sharing your wisdom on the show. This was so fun.
Thank you for the invitation, Allie. It's always a joy to chat with you.
How great is she, right? I am giving away lots of copies of her book. Share this one on social media, tag me and tag Becky, and you will be entered to win. If you're watching on YouTube, thank you for watching. Make sure you're subscribed. Go ahead and like the video and leave a comment, and you'll be entered to win. And as always, I'm so grateful we get to spend this time together every week. Thank you for investing in you, your spiritual health, your emotional well being, and your personal growth. It isn't just about you. It benefits your family and your relationships and your community. I believe in the gifts that God has placed inside of you. I believe in your dreams, and I know you're making an impact on this world for good. That's why you're here week after week. You're learning and you're growing and you're building a healthier, stronger, more joyful life one step at a time. So you are capable of incredible things because the Spirit of God lives in you. The dreams in your heart aren't there by accident. God placed them there, and He's giving you everything you need to live them out. It is my joy to get to coach you and to cheer you on and remind you that with God, you have what it takes. So keep stepping up, keep showing up and loving well, because you can't break a woman who gets her strength from God. I hope you have a great day. I'll talk to you again soon. Why did I say impact like that? Hold on. Did it. And we're out.